forward into actually creating a CarryMap, because I'm pretty sure that's where the most of y'all are going to have your questions, are actually creating it. How to, like we talked about labeling. If you notice, certain labels are on right now. If you notice these green labels here, that's your mile markers, you know, because we get calls all the time. This is I-269 corridor that it's going to run all the way from Canada to Mexico. So we get calls all the time. Well, I see I'm at mile marker 7 and I'm going west. Well, this right here, I can look at this map and it speaks bounds for me, because if you're looking, my fire department down at the bottom left, right next to where it says 301, that's my fire department where I'm based out of. And if I was going to mile marker 7 and they were westbound, I'm sure not going to go up 301 and get on 69 and come that way, because I'm going to be in the eastbound lane, right? I'm going to drive, and it's happened a million times. I'm going to drive right by an accident and not be able to stop and help them, because the medians are all divided by those wire barriers now. So my best bet, if I'm looking at this as a firefighter and they're going westbound at mile marker 7 where they had an accident, I'm going to come all the way down here to what we call Fog Road right here. And I'm going to jump on Fog Road and go north and then come back to mile marker 7, if that makes sense. But do y'all have any questions as far as applications or anything? What you got, Mary?
Just a question on the tracking that you showed. When someone's collecting a track, how do you convert that into a shapefile or upload that for other use?
Let's do that real quick. Well, I can't actually do a track and ride around. You can see, look, this is where I'm located right now. I'm working in the city of Olive Branch today, helping them out. But if I were to turn the tracking on, and so there's two ways you can track. You can actually track to create a property if you wanted to walk around a property boundary and it would close it out and give you a polygon, or you can track yourself here. And you notice when I turn it on, I could walk around the building, I guess. Let's see if it makes it a track or if it moves. Come on, move me. So when I close the track out, I'll click the button again, and I'll say, it says not enough points to create geometry. Oh, wait, hold on. It just moved me. Move me a little bit. All right, click it. And so if you notice, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click create down at the bottom. Select layer for creating what I have right now, my tracks. Oh, create new. If you notice it, put it in as a line, as the track right here, you know, it's highlighted and flashing. It put it in as a line. I created a new one and it gives me the 21st January 2021. And I'm going to hit enter and I'm just going to create. And if you noticed, it created a track, right? And how small it is, but I mean, the track normally would throw you around. I normally can throw my R1 on the dash and have it link up to this iPad and just drive around all day. And so now you've got your lines here, right? So at the end of the day, say I drove all day long, I was collecting addresses, but I wanted to keep track of where I had been each day. Every day when I come into the office, I'm going to click these three buttons right here, and I'm going to click share. And you can either share it as a GPX, a KMZ, a shapefile, or a geo package. I normally just do a shapefile, and what it does is it zips up the shapefile. I hit mail, and then I type in my email address and shoot it to myself. But it's also saved. It's also saved right here in the map itself. And if you've noticed, if I go down here to the very bottom left, if I click that, this is all these projects were saved, right? Every time I create a line or whatever, it creates a project. So I can go back to when I was working on, where's it at? And I need to clean these out. I'm not going to lie to you. I've just saved them because this iPad has so much room in it. I just haven't had a justification to get rid of it. But here, like going back to Grapevine, you know, we were in the field that day and you can see, so this is one thing I didn't show you. So you see how all the lines are blue? Say I want those lines to be a different color. Click your three buttons. Here's my tracks for May 4th. I can click there, and I'm going to go in here to layer properties, and I'm going to click on that green. You see where it says customize symbology? I can make this a thicker. Look at that, super easy. And if I want it to be dotted, I can make it a dotted line. And the fill color, let's make it yellow. And if I wanted a border, I could give it a border like that, which is kind of cool. And then I can make it as transparent as I want. And then watch, I go up here and click change, and then go back and go back again and go back again. And now when I click on the map, yellow probably wasn't a good idea since my point addresses were yellow, but you know, same instance with the points. I can come in here, layer properties. That's the symbol I'm using, but I can customize that symbol. And instead of a circle, I can pick a star, or I can embed my own through an image that I took. You know, I can take an image and put it in here. If you had like a hydrant layer or a hydrant image or whatever that you wanted to embed, you could do that. Make them red, make them big, and then come in, go back, back, and now you notice all the points that I took are now big stars instead of purple circles. So that's actually really cool. That's why I'm glad you asked that, Mary. That was one thing I didn't get to show y'all. You can remove all of layers objects. You can, you know, look at the legend. You can zoom to a certain layer, but layer properties I like. And so I can also go down, like you said before, you know, I'm creating these points in here, but say I want to view the labels of the data that I'm collecting that day. You know, the other layers, the other labels are embedded in the map as static data, right? Well, I mean, it's not necessarily static because it does move and change, but I'm not clicking on that point address and changing that information, that data. That's all housed in my geodatabase. But, and you can't, that's the problem, you can't actually change. If you're looking, I'm clicking on Grapevine here, and click on it. You can't change the way this imagery or this data displays or the way the labels are because it was all embedded in ArcMap when you export the map. But anything that you collect out in the field can be altered any way you want. And the same thing, you can share that data back out however you want through a KMZ shapefile or a geo package. If you have the toolbar, a geo package just brings the data in the same way a shapefile would.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
I'm trying to think. So is there anything else anybody can think of as far as mapping this data? There's all kinds of applications for this. Really, it's just where, you know, where's your mind at the time, and it's super efficient, especially for the uses that I have, because people just don't have the money to invest in GIS software, but this empowers them with GIS data.
Scott, I got a potential application. I'm not sure. So we just had a new animal shelter, kind of a regional one for the valley, constructed, a group called Dumb Friends, and they wanted all my address and centerline data.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I figure it's like, okay, so they can locate an owner of a lost dog or something like that, or where they picked up a lost dog or a stray dog or cat or whatever it might be. So I guess one thing I can see a quick application that may not have been being used before is that using something like this for that type of problem or that type of program. Having their little ArcPad, and they've, you know, okay, where'd you guys find this dog? Well, right here, and here's a picture of it. You know.
Oh no, exactly. Here, I'm glad you said that. I will share this monitor real quick and show you. So I had a guy that did a grass company, and I also had a, where's his at? So a guy came in and he said, man, I cut grass in this county for a living, and I want to be able to estimate sizes of people's yards by using an application, but I don't have money for a web-based application through like ArcGIS Online or anything. But can you just build me a quick app that has their addresses that I can also drop points on who I'm cutting grass for at what weeks, you know? And it's not the best workflow in the world, but it works for somebody that just needs something super simple. They don't have a huge business. They're kind of small. This is, let me go in here and open this up real quick. This is a really cool application. There we go. I did fix it.
You know, and a quick comment on that, and you really touched something that's close to my heart. You know, it's maybe not the best workflow. You know, maybe with some programming it can be better or whatever. But my experience has been most people who may not be tech savvy, you provide them with a simple solution, and they, as they become more comfortable with it, will say, "Oh, hey, can I do it this way? It'll be a lot." And
That's
right?
so that was part of
They
the
learn. They learn.
yes, I'm glad you said that. That's I'm ADD, I'm all over the place, but that was one of the main points I wanted to make, was especially doing a needs assessment. If you can just get them to use something super simple, it makes them ask questions. It gets them excited. And that's what makes me excited as a GIS professional, getting other people excited about what we do for a living, because man, sometimes it's just, you hit that wall. You know, I don't know if y'all are on the listserv. I suppose y'all are. You saw that posting from Lindsay. I know she moved away, and I was like, or yesterday, and I was like, you know, she wanted to get enthusiastic. And sometimes you hit that wall and you need somebody to get enthusiastic about what you're doing, or you just kind of get depressed. This app that I've got up here right now that I think you can see, I think I've got this. Can you see this one? It's, yes, a guy called me, and he works for Extended Missions Network, and it's a bunch of, I believe it's Baptist, Southern Baptist based. He manages all these churches, but he had a problem. He didn't know where all the churches were. And when he was going out to visit these churches, each one of them has a youth minister. They have a pastor. And each one of them have different phone numbers. They have a music minister. So he wanted a way that he could look at any given time and search a name, and he would know what church that person was with, or he could come in and click on a church, and I keep clicking the road, but or he could come in and click a church. I'll tell you what, this ain't helping me very much.
And a quick question from Gabriella while you're doing this is, does this work anywhere in the world, CarryMap?
Yeah.
South America?
Everywhere.
China?
So yeah, here, well, let me show you. So here is, can anybody tell me? Dun, dun, dun. Oh man, I didn't pull it in. I was about to say, I have these ones from, like, if you go to the CarryMap website, they actually have like Zion National Park and a few other ones that they've made that are really cool sites. You can look up campsites. You can look up all kinds of stuff. But yeah, they have them for all over the world. This company that actually does this, who also does Xtools Pro, which I've been using since like 2005, 6. They're based out of Russia. Just don't tell anybody. But yeah, he can come in here. I can't believe I can't click on these. This might have been one of the older versions that I had. Yeah. This is one of the older versions I had. I've redone this for this guy like 10 or 11 times. This is just something I found in one of my hard drives. But yeah, I've made it to where he can click on just a church and it opens up everybody's information, which is all he needs on a daily basis. And it met his needs. Let's go ahead and go, if nobody else has any more questions about the mobile application, let's go ahead and go to the toolbar and kind of work through that. Because I want to at least.
You have one more question.
What you got?
I've got can I update and maintain the base maps using QGIS or another open source software?
You can update and maintain that, but the toolbar itself will only mount into here. This toolbar, you can update and maintain the data, and that's what I like about it. I have some data sets that I update in QGIS, but I can pull those data sets in and out of ArcMap as well. So I can pull them in, but it will come back. They're an Esri partner, so they only have, this toolbar only works in Esri unless somebody else knows something more than I do about it.
So, of course, this begs the ultimate question. How long before CarryMap will be compatible with Pro?
It's actually, I've spoken with them, and I was hoping it was going to be, I told Jeannie the other night, I was like, I really hate giving this or talking about this because it's going to be available in Pro in probably next couple of months. They told me before the end of this year, but they were very optimistic that it'll be ready by April or March. So
right now, does that mean CarryMap's a 32-bit application, or is it 64?
It's a 32-bit. Well,
32.
It's mounted on this, so I'm assuming, but I really hate to assume anything. You know, it might be 64 compatible, and they just might have to, there might just be tweaking some of the bugs to make sure that it works. But so today we're going to make a CarryMap of my rural water system that I'm on the board of. And so here's the water system. And I want to be able to make this. And so I'm going to go from start to finish. I pulled the data in. If you notice, here's the original data. And then I didn't want you to have to sit behind me and watch me symbolize all of this stuff, right? So just so that you can actually see. So here's the original data that I pulled in, and that I created the CarryMap point addresses and the tax parcels. So this is why I gave y'all or sent y'all that XTools Pro. Now there are other ways to do this. You can use an XML editor. You can use, you know, to change the schema. So this is the one downfall that I find the worst for CarryMaps is I'm going to open up the attribute table for my point address layer, right? And most people's point address layers have multiple fields, right? Same thing with your roads layer. I mean, look at all of this information, right? And before we started using CarryMap a lot, we would actually, this name field used to be somewhere in here. It was not at the very beginning. And the reason I say that is CarryMap will only display in, let me open it up. And here we go. I'll just open this one up. And this is a CarryMap that they created, but they don't tell you. So this is a base map that they created that you can use. Notice when I click on a city, you notice that the name is always the first field. That is the field that displays by default in your search field. So if I were to type in Memphis, right, which is right north of me, you see how it says Memphis, how that's nice, Memphis International. Well, when you click on that and zoom to that, right, we click on Memphis, you notice it's the first field in the name. You click on the next one, it's the first field in the name. They don't tell you that when you start using CarryMaps. You know, you got local ID and you got an FID, but the name is the first. And that's what displays here. So let's, now that we know that, I mean, it's an easy fix. And when I make carry maps, I want them to be super lightweight. I want them to not have a lot of data associated with them. Sometimes I might include data, whereas other times I might take data away depending on the person using the information. So the 911 coordinator, I would give them all of the information for the roadways, the point addresses, whereas first responders, they only, and I'll show you right here, first responders only need, let's open this attribute. Look how much smaller that is. They only need the first address, the number, and the label. And I will show you why I have to create a label field. Let's come on. You see that? That 99 is the address, that N is the building number, and that 1 through 8 is the number of units within that building, right? So this is, if you notice, you got a building number, unit number. I cannot write an expression in CarryMap or in ArcMap that will read over to CarryMap. So what I have to do is I have to create a special layer. When what this does for my first responders is this stuff's already in our point address layer, but I built this from left to right building units, and I simplified our point address layers. So we have a secondary point address layer for all of our multi-residential structures, as well as our multi-residential commercial or multi-address commercial structures. But I wanted them, so at any point, my guys can, let's turn off these point addresses. Okay, so they're off anyway. They can go zoom in. Let's go to that apartment that burned down. And let's add some imagery for the fun of it. I'll just grab the 2017. So if you notice, they can look and they can say, all right, that's building 7, that's building 8, that's building 9. Same thing for my dispatchers. Our dispatch system couldn't read this kind of information. So I needed a label that I could give not only in the dispatch, but in the CarryMap application, that if they search 7320 building 11, they know that there's a dash between the building number and then the 2 are the numbers behind that. So that's your first floor, anything that's in brackets. So that's your first floor, that's your second floor. So from left to right, looking at the front of this building, building 13, A to D is from left to right. And on the second floor, E through H is from left to right. And it's going, so it would be A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, or no, A, B, C, D, and E, H, whatever, E, I, G, H. Does that make sense? I mean, I simplified this really in a perfect world, we would have software that would be able to read the secondary address layer that I have, because there is a point for every unit, but visually that just clutters the map and it's too confusing for people. So so that just kind of give you, that's just one of my little workarounds for multi-residential structures. But yeah, that's all I give them. So let's look at our parcels, right? We're going to open a parcels. If you know here, you got your PIN number, your acreage, your owner name, your second owner, your deed page, deed book, you know, all of this information. You know, we came in and got, you know, your warranty deed link, your tax map link, your FEMA link, and so forth. If it's in a plat or a subdivision name, all that stuff was in there. First responders don't need all of that. Now the tax assessor might for an application to go out in the field, but first responders, they only need this right here. I give them the owner name, and you notice that the owner name is at the first, then you've got your PIN number, your acreage, secondary owner, address, city, state, and zip. And what this allows us to do is, does this owner live at that address? Or are they potentially renting it to somebody else? Because as a firefighter, I also put this warranty deed link in there. And so when I come up to a, structure and say somebody's having a heart attack, and I mean, this has happened before, I come up, I can click on the property, and I can just as easily, I can find out if that person, so 4510 Dean, they live at that house because the owner address matches the actual address. I can click on these land records if I can't get a hold of this person, or say they get disconnected from this person. In dispatch, they can look at this, and not all deeds in Mississippi have it, but they've since, you know, if it's not an older deed, it'll have the law firm, and it'll also have the owner's phone number, so that you can look at it and actually pull the owner's phone number and call them. Let's see if I got one. They just started requiring that in like 97, 98. So anything bought prior to that might not. Here we go. Look, I can easily pull this up on my phone and click that button on my phone for the grantor. This is the person that sold the property. This is the person that bought the property. And I can get a hold of people sometimes before I break their door down. You know, that's an expensive fix. And this map also helps the firefighters do their fire reports. So if I'm here, I can pull this in, I can add a base map. And so before, my firefighters who put reports in, they can eyeball and say, hey, look, we had a grass fire that covered, you know, this much area, or they can turn on the imagery now. And say all of this was on fire right here. We have to put in our federal fire reports what burned and what didn't burn. So now they can come in here, and it doesn't have to be perfect by any means. They can come in here and actually map it all out. And this is on every computer in every firehouse. 4.42 acres burned. Okay, so now that you see that, now you know why I gave you the XTools Pro. So I don't know, has anybody ever changed a schema before, or had to manipulate a schema and move it around? It's not fun.
No.
Like there's no good way of doing it. Well, XTools Pro has an awesome little tool. And when I tell you an awesome little tool, I love it to death. It's called Modify Table. And this tool, along with several others in here, will essentially give you a standard plus license for Esri. So my company, I only buy basic licenses. I don't buy standard licenses. I don't buy advanced licenses because I'm not running a server. I don't need to do, you know, versioning or anything like that. I can come in here and just watch how fast I can modify that big table. This is our original parcel data to that data. So I'm going to come in here, map content, original parcels. And it takes a second once I click on it. I'm running way too much stuff right now. My poor computer is going to hate me around 1 o'clock today. But if you notice, you've got all this in here. Watch how easy, if you've never used this tool before. So we already know that we want the full address to display. It has to be the first field. I'm just going to grab this little bad boy. I'm going to drag it right over here. I don't care if it's in front of object ID. I'm not going to get rid of object ID, but I might just drag it to the back. And I can come through here and I can just delete everything else that I don't want and reorganize it. I can even come in here and redefine my layers. So say I want something to be I can come in here and go to the details. I can change it from a text to a date to a global ID, whatever I want. I can change the length of it and hit OK. I think that what is most valuable is this. So when I'm using this with my rural water associations that can't afford GIS, we probably maybe do 20 updates every 6 months for some of these rural water systems. I will come in and I will only give them the data that I need them to populate, because I can auto populate using GIS line size and stuff like that. If they wanted valves, I don't need to know what size valve they put in. If it's, as long as it matches the line, they're not going to put a 3-inch valve on a 4-inch line. So you just got to kind of think through that process. And when somebody's out in the field collecting data with Terraflex or with CarryMap or with whatever, ArcGIS collector, I'm just going to simplify it to 3 or 4 fields, right? And I'm going to build them what I call a geo package, which I'm going to show you how to build one here in just a second. I'm going to build them a geo package, and all my domains and everything will be tied to just those 4 fields. So when they click on it in the map, they're just going to populate the 4 things I need. Then I can bring that back into the whole data set and populate it myself. So does that make sense? I don't know if any of y'all have ever used this. One of the coolest features is you can import fields. So if I wanted to import fields here, I can come in, I can click on another data set, whether it be roads, point addresses. I don't know why anybody would want to merge point addresses with their parcels, but list of fields. I can click the fields out of the point addresses that I want to add to this, and it automatically keeps the same schema that you have built in here into there. And then I know, close. And then I just go ahead and export that out, and it comes right back into my database as a modified table. So it doesn't override any of my existing data. It creates a new field, and then I just change the name of it, add it back to the map. And that's how I build the CarryMap. I might not need all of these fields, and it's quick for me to, instead of going in here, right click, delete, or using an XML schema so you can change it, or XML editor. Oh, there we go. All right, so now we know what we've got here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the original data. I've shown you how you need to change it. Let's remove that. So if you look at the point address layer, I have, just imagine that I went ahead and went through XTools Pro. I came in and I moved everything around, and then I came into my attribute, and I'm going to show you how and this might take you a while. Like, I probably spent a good 2 days building this, these layers for that first responder map. And then I've tweaked it since then. I mean, character spacing, all kinds of stuff. Where did my properties? Oh, there you are. Okay. So everything that you set in here will be reflected in CarryMap, right? So I display it. Let's go in here. I don't need a point. So if you notice, that was really, really small. I don't want to display the FID, the field identification, or the shape. I only want this. So whatever you turn on or off here will automatically carry over to CarryMap. It's super simple. If you wanted to put a definition query in, I have not tested it. So if you test it and play with it and see if it works. Labels, I come in and set my placement property. I have them placed on top of the point. I set up everything just the way you would if you were going to create an interactive map. I even come in and set the scale range. And depending on what size phone you have, I had to kind of do a medium between both, but depending, like if everybody has iPhone 5s that they're running with, you probably don't want to do a 1 to 900. You want them to be able to play with, you want to be able to export and play with this stuff. I probably would export a CarryMap before I deployed it 10 to 12 times just to test everything out. Here we go. So really that's pretty much all I check in here. I play with it on the map. I get everything exactly the way I want. Same thing with my properties. I come in, I set my symbology exactly the way I want it. I set my layers exactly the way I want it, what I want. So it takes everything that you do. The only thing that it won't take, which kills me, is an expression, because I would love to not have to create that label field every time. You know, I got to go in and concatenate that, and it's not too bad, but it's not fun. If you notice, let me go in here, how they're displayed here. Let's go to properties, labels, local roads, symbol. You notice I got a character spacing of 13. So I actually come in and tweak all of the character width spacings, because when it takes it in, it's not going to look just like it looked in ArcMap. But I mean, it's minimal changes that you have to do. So I don't know if any of you have ever done that before, but I mean, it takes in all your halos and your masks. It takes all of that into account. Every now and then I'll build a CarryMap that doesn't take a symbol, like a hydrant symbol or something different, something weird that comes in, and it won't actually create it and put it in there. Let's remove that out. All right, so we now have roads, point addresses. So does anybody have any questions so far before we move on?
Not so much a question, but maybe another application. You guys using it, weed mapping, noxious weeds? Is that a big thing in Mississippi?
No, it's not a big thing here. We have weeds everywhere.
Okay.
We have we would probably be a kudzu mapping. I'd love to map all the kudzu.
That would be kind of like the whole state, wouldn't it?
Yeah. No lie there. It would be the whole state. So I'm going to go step by step. So we now have our data formatted the way we want it. We've got our gravity mains here. I just went ahead and left all of the data in here for the gravity mains to pull it all in. Let's close that. So let's look and make sure. I kind of play with it a little bit before everything looks good. My labels don't clash or contrast with anything else. Maybe I want to give a reference to building footprints. I can come in. Wait a minute. Yeah, I got 2019 building footprints. Wonder what kind of data is in there. So we're going to make it gray. And I mean, you might come in here and change some things. Just remember, whatever it looks like here is what it's going to look like in your CarryMap. So clean it up. Same thing with your legend.
And we have a new question.
What you got?
From Montezuma. If you are making layers that folks in the field can edit and add to, do domains like drop-down menus transfer over?
Like a champ, they do. Yes, and it's beautiful. That's kind of what I showed you in the application on the computer, or not the computer, but on the iPad, where you went in and you could drop down with your date and all of that. So if you look at this gravity mains right here, I'll go ahead and show you. You see all of this, right? I'm going to go ahead and click here and go. So I have, you see this geo package? I created this water utility database geo package from this. And so let's go in here and go to properties. So you see all these domains I have set up. I went in and created a lot of these and customized them. I also stole a lot of them for Esri, so you know, whatever you can do, repurpose things. But yeah, everything that's in here
I think it's
automatically
referred to as borrowing.
yeah, borrowing. These all of this stuff, all of these default values and stuff will automatically be populated for you using this geo package. So what I did was to create this geo package right here, I grabbed all of these layers from here. Well, heck, I guess I can just go ahead and show you. I'll create another geo package. Here, let's just create a geo package with just a few. So I'll grab control fittings. Here, let's just do control fittings or control valves. So we've got control valves here, and I can come up here to CarryMap Builder, and I'm going to go through all of this stuff for you, but let's go ahead and do the export to geo package. So I like to customize these, and this is just the default one, but I would go in there and I would normally meet with a client and say, all right, what do you call your valves? Because it's not always the same. Like I had the last client I worked with, like they only had, well, we have, what was it? We call them control valves, blow off valves, and air something preventer valves, airflow preventer valves or something like that. So we only gave them those 3 valve options. I got rid of everything else in the domains, and they didn't want all of this stuff down here. So I let them hand pick what they wanted out of here. I added that file to the map. I updated my domains, and then I came into CarryMap Builder. I said export to geo package, and I went into map content. I clicked control valve, which gives me a point. And I can export just the schema only. I can export just the current extent, but we don't have any, there's no data in this because we're only looking at the schema itself. So exported selected features, you can actually select just a few features. If you wanted just the features within a certain boundary of your map, you can push those in there. And then you just come in and name it whatever you want. So we're going to call this control valves. Geo package, export. And so you notice that was a completely empty schema. I mean, there was no data associated with that control valve with this right here. And so now we can pull that back in. I will open up CarryMap. And let's go to, we'll just go to the first responder map. We'll add some valves in that. And I can now come in and add a point. Say that's a valve. Oh, wait. Not gonna work. Go to content. You gotta add. So the web version and the actual Windows version are a little different. You can actually select it directly from there when it's on your device. But here I'd have to go in, like here it is. Let's go to desktop, workshop, and here's my control valve. Open. Yes, I'm going to add my control valve into my map, and then I'm going to zoom in, and I want to put a valve here. Add valve, and all of our data that we had. So now here, so y'all can see that. Is it enabled? Yes or no? Created date. Water type. Is it potable water, raw water, sewage, runoff? what kind of life cycle it has, when is it maintained, when was it last exercised, and then control type, altitude, backflow preventer, and then what kind of valve type. Oh, this might be the one that I just customized for them. It's only got 3. No, but anyway, so all that data would come in and it just gives you drop downs. It builds them in there. You just hit create and it automatically drops a point. And then you have your data there. The only problem is, like I was saying before, now you can come in here and you can create all the data you want, right? So we just created this point. So now that we've created this point, I'm going to go ahead and close this map out. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to go back to CarryMap Builder. And I want to import from GeoPackage. This is the cool part. So now I'm going to go to where we were. Go back to that same package that's saved on my desktop, open, and now I can click that I want to bring in. We had one feature that we created. Now, this is the cool part that I like about this GeoPackage stuff. When you send somebody out in the field with their handheld or with their phone, they went out and collected a whole bunch of data from you. You can merge that data back with your original data set, and it only brings in what they added, which is super, super cool. Or you can come in and just bring the whole thing in. They made it really, really, here we go. I like that they have these little where you can hover over. All objects are imported from the original objects. You do not want to do this. All objects are imported, original objects are deleted. So make sure that you look at these. See, I like the merge, all objects are imported, original objects are saved. But you might only look, you might have had in this database 50 features, right? But you only wanted to go out and collect 3. And so what you did was you created a GeoPackage so that you could see the reference points of the other 50 features that you had, but you collected 3. You only want to bring those 3 in, then you can come in here and all objects are, well, yeah, here. And the original objects are deleted. Or only modified objects are imported. So these are kind of the same. There's a, just have to play with it a little bit. And then you just import it in and it adds it right back into your map. So I'm not going to do that because what it would do is it would update. And what it's going to do is once you create that GeoPackage, like I created it from here, it will update my sample utility database. So it's going to drop a point back into my original geo database, right? Does that make sense? Everybody good with that? Just so that you're not creating a new shapefile. Like if you were to right click on it and export to shapefile, when you're exporting a GeoPackage, it's taking it and it's finding the source back to that original data set and updating, which I thought was pretty neat in itself. So now that we've talked about GeoPackages, it is 12:23. Let's go in here. We've added some data into our map. We're ready to rock and roll. I will show you some of these parameters for the map. So fast extraction, you can click that. And what it will do is it will immediately start extracting everything within your database right away. So it won't just extract this, it'll extract the entire county, every data set, all of the data sets from this right here, even though I only want to build a map for this area right here. So fast extraction is good if you want to test, something real quick just to see what it looks like. I did a fast extraction earlier. I'll show you what it looks like just because I didn't want to waste a whole bunch of time. Let's click in here. Here's the fast example, the example of the fast extraction that I did. See how it automatically took everything into account, but when you zoom in and zoom out, you notice I didn't have the building footprints on earlier. but I was just testing, what is it going to look like? What is the wording going to look like? Are you going to be able to read it? Sometimes you realize I had character spacing in there. If I didn't have that character spacing, a lot of times some of these, like these two T's, would have been almost touching each other and a little off. So, but a lot of times I'll do a fast extraction. I'll test the search button, right? So 8193. So if you notice, when I did the fast extraction earlier, I had my original data set as well as my CarryMap data set that I built. Do you see the difference? You see how these same point addresses are also these same point addresses here. This is the data set that has been tweaked where that full address field was moved to the very beginning of the data set. Whereas this one, it was not moved to the beginning of the data set. I had not messed with the schema on this one. Now the roads, we built the roads like this so that they would automatically come through. All right, let's go back here. Let's go to the next step. All right, so now merge CMF2 files. If you wanted to merge two carry maps that you had built before, you could actually merge them using this. I've never used this tool. I've never had a reason to merge two carry maps. Convert an original carry map. If you've been using CarryMap as long as I have, you have some CMF files. But this is kind of neat. It's a map report. You can click the report and I can select, let's select the sample one that I did, hit open, any one of your maps. And what this report gives you is it gives you your sizes and your number of features. So you know your numbers of features aren't going to change, but say you have a data set that you might not need 27 fields. You might only need 3 fields to solve one solution. You would be able to see how that impacts the size of your total map right here. So if you wanted to change some of these, you could actually change some of these to make them smaller. If you look at the 2020 parcels, you see how it's 40 megabytes, right? After I stripped out 12 fields from the 2020 parcels, look at it now. It's 25.76, much easier to shoot out to people for downloading on their mobile devices. You don't want to give them a 100 megabyte map, you know, unless you just absolutely have to. But if you can condense some of the data that's not needed, see how easily it comes in. The roads were like 5.93 megs, where when I brought them down, the roads turned into 2.5. That cut it down more than half. Point addresses, see how the gravity mains, they're huge. If I got rid of all of those fields, oh, well, no, that's not huge. It's only kilobytes. I'm sitting here. But anything that you can do to compress that or make that smaller, that kind of, that's a cool feature that they just added. So we're going to go in here and now we're going to go and do custom map extraction. We are about to make a carry map. And so if you're going through here step by step now, this is neat. This is kind of new to their new version. You can come in here and select each one of these. And so when you have this selected, you are working here, right? I select this one and this stuff changes here. Does that make sense? So gravity mains, we're going to come into gravity mains. I want to be able to identify gravity mains, but I don't want to be able to search by them. So I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to go to point addresses. I don't want to be able to identify point addresses. These are field workers, but I do want to be able to search by them. So you go into your search settings, and I like that you can come in here. I normally turn everything off. I want them to be able to search by a full address and by the number itself. So, I mean, and if you want, you could add location. In some of our municipalities, it'll say McDonald's, Burger King, whatnot. So once that's set, you're good to go. And then roads, I do the same thing. They don't need to identify the roads, but they do need to search the roads. And they only need to search by name, maybe street name, and alias, if there's an alias. I'll go to footprints and they don't need to identify building footprints or search by building footprints. Tax parcels, I do want them to be able to identify the tax parcels. And now you can come in and customize template settings on how you show or what you show, how it actually displays in there. You can change the text color. You can change the header bar background. This is stuff that really just play with it. It's super fun to play with. You can center all of the information. You can put it to where you don't want to show empty fields or you want to show empty fields. If there are attachments. So it's fun to go in here and you can actually show the data by what fields you want to show it. You can go in and select information here, or you can just default it. So this is just the default. We'll go ahead and look at what the default looks like. You can even set up custom templates, which is very, very cool. So this is your pop-up. Think of it that way. Your identify, that's your pop-up editor. Service area, we don't want them to identify or be able to search by. And then, so let's go ahead and go home. It goes all the way out. I really don't want all of this data, right? I say I want, you can actually set it by current extent. You can draw an area, or you can actually set an area by a feature. Here. So I put draw, and I really not want to draw anything. I want it to be by a feature. I'm going to come in here and select my boundary. I know I'm going to miss a few things here and down here, but that's fine for what we're doing. It's actually only going to extract all of the data within this polygon. Or I could come in here and instead I could do a polygon, or I can draw around and put a buffer around that area, but we'll make it look clean. So the next thing is your map info, right? You've got your map data the way you want it. You're going to come into this map info and you're going to come in and we're going to call this Eudora Water. And we're going to say the publisher is Scott Trapolino. And the company is EIS, and the email, you know, you can put your email in there. You can put the URL to my company, and then I can put some notes in there. Call me if you have questions. And then say you want, you can browse in here. See, I think I have. Yeah. So I can just grab a photo. You can put your city logo or county logo on here. And that'll go with the map. And then you come down here and you've got your directory. We're going to throw it right back in here. We're going to call it Eudora Utilities Field Collection. We're going to hit save. And this is the cool part. So if you want to put restrictions on this, you can make it password protected. You can set a password. You can make this map only valid for a month. I love this option because it restricts the end user that if, say you have critical data that you're pushing out and not everybody's supposed to see it, you can password protect it and you can only make it valid for a certain day. So if somebody did get a hold of this after the fact, they wouldn't be able to open it anyway. It would be null and void for them. And I have tested this out. It's actually kind of cool. Let's go ahead and extract the map. And in here, you know, you can go ahead and reset these, reset your, if you need to reconfigure your extraction boundaries, we've already configured that. Map info, water name, we've already got the name for it. We've already set that, start extraction. And so now I'm going to go ahead and let you know if you're extracting the largest one I've ever done is like a 5 gigabyte, 6 gigabyte imagery, as well as county data. Something that large, it's going to take about 6 to 8 hours to process and export. Make sure you're doing it on a computer where you can hit run and walk away and just let it run. But don't let your computer go to sleep. So set your settings. I mean, just a little workaround. Set your settings to leave your computer up and running, and let it run, because I was really flabbergasted when I ran the first one and it compressed that 6 GB, you know, with all the vector data and raster data into a CarryMap that I could use on a computer. I was just blown away. So here's your kind of like the report you have. It gives you a report when you export it. Click OK. It asks you if you want to view it. Hit yes, and it'll automatically open it on your desktop. So now we have it. And let's look at our functionality. We're going to zoom in. We've got our lines. Can we identify our lines? Yes. Gives us all the information we need. Can we search? Let's search by, what's a road? I don't think Pratt Road, Highway 301. Oh, wait. Now it is a little finicky when you are searching. Did you notice that I didn't put a space between there and it didn't show anything up? It's pretty, there's no setting in here to say, well, if it's halfway right, make it. You know, I could have just typed in 301 and I would have got every 301. So that gave me every address off 301. It gave me anything that references 301. And it will zoom to different areas. Excuse me. So content, make sure you can turn things on and off. So we turn off the water lines, point addresses. Well, I already know the base map's going to work. So once you have this built, what I do is I'll come in and take this file right here, and 9 times out of 10, if they don't have a way to serve it up, I have a huge Google Drive, and I'll just create an open link to a folder for a county or a water association, whatever, and I just throw it out there for them, and they come in and drag it in and pull it into their phone. So that really is the you know, the hardest part is not making these maps. It's actually trying to get somebody to come in and close, do this. Let me see if I can get the screen mirroring done. I at least want to show you how to bring one in, at least to an iOS device. I don't have an Android device with me. Oh, hold on. I have to click share. I feel so special. This is the first time I've integrated iPads with the computer, and it seems to be working really well. There we go. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll go in here. Here's Prentiss County Administrative Map. If you notice right there, I'll click those 3 buttons and I'll just say open in, and it'll give me an option. I want to open in CarryMap. Hit yes, and it saves it to my directory. Once you put it in here, it is now located in your directory here, and it houses them not by date but by name. And you can toggle between any one of your projects. But yeah, it's depending on your internet connectivity, really makes the difference. Here we go. All right, so what kind of questions do y'all have now that we've kind of gone through the process of creating a CarryMap? And this was a very simplistic CarryMap. I've worked hours and days on some of these maps to make sure, and then I give them to somebody and I let them test them. I was like, test this and tell me what you like and don't like about it. Some people don't only want to be able to identify one feature within the entire map. Some people only want to be able to search by one feature in the entire map, but they still want to visualize everything. So it's really, you know, it kind of empowers you to give them whatever they want in an easy map. And this thing works on iOS, Android, Windows. I have not been able to not load this application and use it on a device yet. Any questions? Did I put all y'all to sleep?
No, we're not asleep.
A quick question, Scott, you talked about imagery can be brought in and compressed.
Ooh.
Do you have to have the TIFF files in your ArcMap project, or you can look at an image service, or how does that work?
Let's do it. Let's do it. I was actually going to show that. Thank you so much. I feel like I covered so much, and I promise I have a notepad with stuff and I'm trying to look over and make sure I covered everything. Let's go in here and grab the data real quick. Let's go ahead and grab, and this is 6-inch imagery. Let's look at the size of it real quick. I will add this. We're not going to export this whole thing. We'll export a portion of it. I think it's like 7 or 8 gigabytes SID. So let's just zoom into one area, right? Let's turn off the building footprints. We want to see the beautiful imagery. Let's zoom out. And so we're just going to do one code, right? That should export pretty fast, but it does give you other options that I didn't get to show you. So we're going to go back to our CarryMap builder. The cool thing is here, hold on, let me hit save. So once you have built the MXD the way you want it, you like it, your CarryMap's awesome, your data is all tied back to either a database or something that where you can manage the information and update it and push it out at will. You save that CarryMap or save that MXD, and whenever you have to push out an update, all you have to do is open the MXD if you're editing that data set. But if you create a new data set, you're going to have to do the same process by deleting fields and moving stuff around. It's not the, like I said, it's not the most beautiful workflow in the world, but it does work. So let's go in here now and CarryMap builder, we're going to do another custom extraction. And the cool thing is all of the settings that you've saved in here are going to automatically be still here. Does that make sense? So if you notice how that was white, if we went ahead and clicked extract again, it would extract all of the imagery for this entire area. But we don't want that. So we are going to redraw, and we're going to draw a polygon. And we're going to draw a polygon for just a small area right here, not by feature. Okay, there we go. Well, really didn't want to do that. So clear boundary. Oh, that's what I had to do. If you click clear boundary, then go to polygon. Now we can draw just I guess I'm gonna have to zoom in to draw it. It's too far out. Let's move this right here. All right. And just so it doesn't take forever, we'll zoom back out. Stop it. And so you notice you've got your imagery down here, and I would normally change that to say 2017 6-inch imagery. But when I click this, notice you've got a different option down here. You've got raster compression. So you can compress this to get the best quality or to get the smallest file, right? So normally I put this around 30 and it still gives me a phenomenal image, right? And it makes it small. So let's see how small it makes just that little area. So now we're going to go back up. Everything's right. Our settings are good. Nothing's changed in here. We're going to extract the map, come back in here, and it will extract over an existing map. Like it would extract over that and say, hey, do you want to cover this up or change it? I'm just going to add a 1 behind it. Start extraction. All right, let's see how long it takes. It shouldn't take that long. Yeah, this is going to go, should go pretty fast. Wow. So now if you look, here's your mosaic levels. How cool is this? It actually goes ahead and caches your levels out for you. Super nice, super nice. So it's really not too big of a file. Let's see how big the file actually is. We're going to go ahead and view it. It only gave us the area we were in, but you can still highlight the properties. And you can come in here. And so I wanted to let you know, if you don't want the image to be on when you first open the map, or you don't want a layer to be on, like I said, you remember I turned off building footprints because I didn't want to see them. It does not get rid of them. It just has them invisible. And now I can add the building footprints back. Look at it, click on the data, all the functionality is still there. And then at the, touch of a button, I can turn the imagery on, which makes it nice. So can you think of any more questions? Because that was an awesome question, Mary. I'm sure there's something else that I forgot. And if y'all run into any issues whatsoever, if you're playing with it or just trying to do something, it would break my heart if you didn't pick up the phone and call me or text me or send me an email. You have all of my information from last night when I sent out that email. So, because I really think this could be a useful tool, especially for search and rescue people. I mean, if I had search and rescue guys going out to the side of a mountain or to a very, very rural area, being able to provide them this imagery with a topo layer of just a specific area where you knew they wouldn't have any coverage, you could easily put this together, give it to them right before they walk out. And you saw how fast, if you have a map already built, you can zoom in and just clip out the area that they need. They know what they're going to need. And if it was going to be too large, clip out 2 or 3 areas and give them 2 or 3 maps. But I highly doubt it's going to be too large. The biggest one I've ever put on my iPad was like 1.3 gigs. And it worked like a champ. Now the 1.3 gig CarryMap that I put on my computer tended to want to crash my computer, but I'm also running Windows 7, so don't tell anybody.
Scott, can you export like from CarryMap to a goal, or how is the interaction with ArcGIS Online? So can you do something with ArcGIS Online?
I haven't really.
Like
Actually, a lot of these layers that I have in here are also ArcGIS Online features. So this layer that you're seeing, the gravity mains, is also tied to the AGOL app that they're using. So, it's all tied to the same geodatabase. that we're using, they have a web-based application that they can use in the office to look up customers and stuff like that. And then the guys in the field are using the CarryMap option. But I don't have a way for those two to actually talk to each other without going through a GIS conduit, which is what you are and I am and Pete and everybody else. We're the ones who takes the data and make sure that it gets passed back and forth. There's not a real automated way to do that. But the funny thing is, you're probably going to see some kind of functionality like that, especially with CarryMap and Pro. It's so pro pushing the data back and forth that I don't see them not doing that. That's going to be something that's going to be really interesting in the future.
Thank you.
How about questions for Scott?
I feel like I took up all your time and I talked way too much, but hopefully you have got the pain points that I spent hours trying to figure out why I couldn't get things to label right or, view.
So Rich has a quick question. He wants to know, what's the licensing cost?
It's like $500 a year is what I pay for a CarryMap. But the great thing about it is once you've paid that money, you can make as many maps as you want and deploy them as many times as you want for free. There's no cost to be able to utilize the maps that you create. You only have to pay for the toolbar.
Hey, Scott, I've got a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the addressing discrepancies, like some places we're using maybe the 2-digit off from what the real, if you're like out in the field and searching that address and it's not necessarily in the data, is there like an address locator that can at least bring you to the same area?
No. So what I would do is, this is by default for my firefighters, right? So if we got a call on 8595 Savage Road, but there's not an 8595 in the database, I default those guys. If it's blank on their search text, when they search in there, I say, just type in Savage. Don't type in Savage Road. Don't type in Lane. The least amount of data will give you the most amount of results. So if they typed in like 89 or 8950 or whatever, and it didn't give them anything whatsoever, just type in Savage, zoom to that road and find the closest address. Because in some instances, like you said, it might be wrong, or you might drive out there and find out that they really do have an 8595 on their mailbox. You just didn't have it in your 911 system like that. And that's when you either change your 911 data or issue an address change to that resident.
Okay. Yeah, because for our area, our county roads are, numbers for the roads north-south and then letters for the ones east-west. And so we have maybe like road endpoint 4. There's like 3 different endpoint 4 chunks that aren't actually connected. So it's like trying to find the right one.
We have the same, I have the same issue in other places. I just happen to luck up and work in or live in a county that has already gone to next gen compliance when it comes to road names and address ranges. But yeah, I'd say 90% of Mississippi is exactly the way you just described. Highway 895, or not highway, the county road 895 runs all the way through the county and broken in 15 different places. So yeah, and it's difficult to go through that. But the cool thing is, if you type that in, like I typed before, you saw Highway 301 was like 50 different, it'll show you every segment. You just might have to click 3 or 4 segments before you get in the address range you need to be in.
Okay.
And Rich was asking again, and you already answered it earlier though, when do you think the pro version will be out?
Oh yeah, hopefully within the next couple of months. I'm looking forward. They said before the end of 2021, but I've talked to a couple of their developers and they're hoping, April, May, maybe March, but I doubt that.
Do you have many crashing issues with CarryMap?
Only on my computer.
Huh. Interesting.
That's the funny thing. It works really, really good on my phone and my iPad. But when I work with it on my computer, it crashes more than anything else. So I guess that tells us our phones are pretty powerful.
Huh. That is interesting.
It does crash my iPad when I use the imagery. I've never had it crash with just vector data, but when you throw a lot of raster data in there and zoom in and out at larger scales, it will sometimes lock up on the iPad. But other than that, I really haven't had any crash. That's why I love it. It's a super solid product. And I mean, I think I've trained now over 2,300 firefighters nationwide on using this product, and I don't know how many GIS professionals. It was a good solution. And somebody asked me the other day, I talked to my business partner last night, and she said, well, what happens when they start charging for people to use CarryMap? And I said, well, somebody else will come out with something else, and I'll have to pick it up and run with that. You know?
So the one license fee is applicable to multiple users?
Yeah, like so I only pay for this, the CarryMap builder right here. I can build as many maps as I want and give them out and tell people to give them out to whoever they want. That's the one thing that's great about this. And I'm probably one of their biggest proponents. I've probably sold more toolbars for them to GIS professionals than most people, because they want to be able to provide that same service.
So the license is just to build CarryMaps.
Mm-hmm.
The application to view them
and
use them is free.
It's free for any device.
Hey, Scott, this is Rich.
Hey, Rich.
This is great. It's really, the tools seem really flexible. And some of the things that you've told us recently, about the crashing and stuff, it kind of reminds me of back in the day with ArcMap, and
yeah,
you can only feed it so much, and then it will not cooperate.
And so the funny thing is, Rich, that you say that, like, so I've been testing out several other options just in case this goes away, right? So I have a publisher. I also have, well, I guess publisher's not up here, but I have, yeah, it is. I've got a publisher app, right? So, or the toolbar, which is like $2,500 for the standalone license and $600 a year if you want to buy it. And you can create an Explorer application through RGS Online, but it crashes all the time. It's clunky and it doesn't do what I want it to do. Whereas this tool does not crash a quarter of the time. I have several people that say, well, I use Explorer for everything, and Explorer works great, but the stability of CarryMaps is by far superior, at least in what I've tested.
Have you found that a lot of your clients are also using Collector or maybe probably not Survey 123, but Collector, because it's got better navigation, and that they're using Collector as well as, or want to, use Collector as well as the CarryMaps, because they're both powerful tools. You put them together and they're maybe better.
Yeah, we use,
big package.
I know a lot of them use CarryMap as a locator, whereas they're using Terraflex or Collector to collect the data.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they like it because they don't want to give Collector out. You have to have a license for it, but they want a viewer that's it's much like a map book, but lightweight, that they can give to all their employees. And so they give them CarryMap, and then the heavy users go out and use Collector or Terraflex through Trimble and collect all the data.
Interesting. And those cooperate together on devices from what you've seen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only thing is, so if you open up CarryMap and you have Terraflex open at the same time and you want to go between a GPS unit, it's a pain because you almost have to disconnect from one to reconnect to another without it dropping the signal, but especially with Bluetooth devices like the R2 and the R1 and the Bad Elf.
Yep. Collector has the same issue.
Yeah.
you know, if you're switching
It,
back.
yeah, it fights other softwares for that GPS signal.
Yeah, yep. But very cool.
Well, awesome. I hope y'all got something out of that. Please, you can use the free version if you want for, I think it's 14 days. But if y'all run into questions or whatever, just by all means, shoot me a text message, a call, or an email. I'm available anytime.
Scott, thank you so very much for taking time out of your schedule to work with us on this and show us the product and whatnot and some training on it. I know I enjoyed it. I haven't seen a ArcMap toolbar in years.
And look, you know, I've almost converted everything over to Pro, but there's still a few tools that I use in ArcMap, like the X Tools Pro. They just released the X Tools Pro license not too long ago for Pro. So I've been holding on with a few things, but yeah.
Well, again, thank you so very much, everybody. I think you all have Scott's contact information from the email last night. Stay in touch with them.
Awesome.
Thanks, Scott. It was really great.
It was good seeing you again, Mary, Doug, Rachel, like, you know, everybody we went camping with. Maybe one day, you know, when the COVID's over, I'll get to come back and visit everybody.
Well, the end of
plan
the
for
beginning is
June.
here.
Dude,
Yeah, thank you. Very well done.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
thanks.
Thank you for
Thank,
everything.
thank all of you attendees for attending today. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy.
Yep.
And we'll
And
see you
hopefully
down
see
the
most
road.
of you tomorrow.
Yeah, have a
Yep.
good one.
Hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow for the
We'll
meeting.
be around.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye,
Thanks again,
everybody.
Scott.
No problem.
Good job, Pete.
Thanks, Rich.
Yeah, sorry I had to deal with some shit. Just a couple calls came up and some other things.
Not a big deal. Not a
But
big deal. It was pretty easy.
yeah, go ahead and stop your recording and then tell me where